Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Everyone who reads it must converse is a channel. Today, I'm going to do a quick one on Behold the Man by Michael Moorcock. Pretty cool edition here. This is the 30th anniversary edition. Some pretty cool blurbs on the back. Brian Aldiss, Jonathan Carroll wrote the foreword to this 30th anniversary edition. This came out in 1996. And it was originally published in 1966. So I'm going to take the dust jacket off here just because it is it doesn't feel too like it's been taken care of too well. There's no cuts. There's no breaks on it or anything. It just doesn't feel like it feels a bit dried out perhaps. So I'm going to take it off just while I handle it. And I'll show. This is an illustrated edition. It's actually pretty cool. Just some black and white illustrations at the beginning of every chapter. But this is a novella. It's very short. It took me an hour and a half or something like that. Read it. It's not a big deal. So Carl Glogauer has never quite fit in. His girlfriend believes in nothing, and Carl is obsessed with living psychology and dead languages. His girlfriend tries to convince him to follow her lead, but what Carl seeks is a revelation. The quest leads Carl to the days of Christ, a time traveler on a most important mission. Almost 2,000 years in the past, Carl meets John the Baptist and goes searching for Christ. What he discovers shocks him to his core and gives his life new purpose. So, one of the finest science fiction novellas ever written, as well as one of the finest novellas ever written, says Brian Aldiss. Now, I love it. I mean, it was really, really cool. And this is a time travel book. So I'm going to speak a little bit on the time travel just while I give my little take on it right here. And I'm going to show some of the pictures and artwork that is involved with this. So I'm not spoiling anything by saying what I'm going to say. So I'll just read the very opening, like on the dedication page, right before the first page. He has no material power as the God emperors had. He has only a following of desert people and fishermen. They tell him he is God, and he believes them. The followers of Alexander said, he is unconquerable, therefore he is a god. And the followers of this man scarcely think at all. He was their act of spontaneous creation. Now he leads them, this Nazarene madman called Jesus of Nazareth. And he spoke, saying unto them, yeah, verily, I was Carl Glogauer, and now I am Jesus the Messiah, the Christ, and it was so. So I'm not giving any spoilers away by saying that he, takes up the mantle, takes up actually being the Christ. So at the start of this thing, he crawls out of a time machine, and he's in, on the outskirts of Jerusalem. And he's found by the Essenes, a group that, traditionally Jesus was a part of. So they take care of him. They mend him. He was hurt in his travel, and then, like I said, he goes looking for Christ. He gets baptized by John the Baptist. John the Baptist sees him as the fulfillment of prophecy, because he came out of nowhere in his time machine. And the type of time travel, I think, is what adds to this so well. But first, I wanted to just say that what it is, what it turns into, is not an exploration of religion at all, except for maybe the exploration of personal religion, why somebody has a religious belief. But it is actually a question, more of a question of why would somebody give their entire life and being up for their belief. And Michael Moorcock does this in a very smart way and in a very succinct way. This goes very, very quickly. The read is a very quick read, although it is kind of dense as far as I did want to stop and think through quite a few of the parts that I got to. Now, the way that time travel works in this is, I kind of see it as there's two kind of schools of time travel as far as popular ways of looking about how time travel might work. One of them is that you can go back and change something and create an alternate timeline. And then there's like multi dimensions of time going in parallel. Think Back to the Future. Think Time Cop. Something like that. So, the other school is that you can't go back and change anything because it's already happened. And time, there's only one timeline, and we're all in it. So even if you wanted to go back and change something, like it's already happened. So you know that if you try to go back and change that thing, well, you're going to fail because it hasn't changed. It is something that is a reality. Think 12 Monkeys is a perfect example of that one, but there's so many others. Primer, there's just, all the best time travel movies kind of take that route. And there is time travel movies that are a mix of all that kind of stuff. But Time Crimes is one of my favorites. But it's this kind of thing where there's only one timeline. So whatever happened back in this case, back in the time of Christ, whatever happened then, if somebody goes back in time, they're not going to change anything that actually happened. They're not going to change the story that we all know. They have been there. They have done that. You know what I mean? And I think that this is written, it's not spelled out explicitly, but I think that this is written from that kind of way of thinking. That, there's no way to go back and change anything because it is just what it is. We're all part of the timeline. But it was a very enjoyable read. It gives you a lot of food for thought as far as just your own belief. Like how far would you go for what you believe? Not in a Christian way of thinking necessarily, but just belief in general. Carl Glogauer, the main character here, he's a Jungian. He loves Carl Jung, and so he's not necessarily a big Christian. What he sees himself as is in becoming the Christ is becoming an archetype, is becoming a living and breathing archetype, an archetypal figure that has its influence throughout the rest of known history. So, hope you enjoyed that book too. Check it out if it interests you. Michael Moorcock is an awesome fantasy writer. I've read, other of his stuff, the Eternal Champion series, a lot of those. Elric is probably my favorite character, maybe in all of fantasy. What an amazing story that character goes through. Michael Moorcock is an amazing a writer, a great thinker. So hope you enjoy it. Catch you on the next one. Bye-bye, BookTube.